100 games. You heard me right, these are the 100 best video games ever released on PC. Hey guys, my name is Alexander, also known as Badinfos, and in 2014 I started work on this video, 8 years ago. I made an Excel file and added every single game I have ever played. After years of refinement, reworks and whatnot, it turns out that since 2002, when I got my first PC, till now I have played exactly 481 PC games. Out of these, 388 I did complete fully, 62 I did not finish, and 31 of them don't have a completion state. Well, only 100 of these will get a spot in this video. I play pretty much anything from any genre, so you'll see a lot of variety here. Some of the most critically acclaimed games ever, and some games many of you probably have never seen before. It goes without saying, but I'll mention it anyway, I have not played every single game ever made for PC. Many of these games you may not like, and I probably did not include your favorite game is because this list is mine, and I only included games I enjoyed the most. If you of course disagree with my placement, please share a similarly big or smaller list in the comments below. I would seriously love to see what you guys think. The games here range from 1998 to 2020, so guys, buckle up because this video will be huge. Here are my 100 favorite games ever made for PC. Let's go. On the bottom we have a fantastic game by the name of Ruiner. The first thing I gotta mention about it is the soundtrack and art style. They mesh incredibly well with each other, and in my entire list only a few games could rival Ruiner in this aspect. It's a dark and dangerous world, lots of sleazy individuals who wanna use you and lie to you. Each introduction to a new character is a surprise and a joy to witness. Combat has much to be desired, especially for boss battles. The length is pretty short as well, only 4 hours, but overall, despite the repetitive levels, it deserves a spot on my list. On number 99 we have Alan Wake, the crime mystery game which many would classify as a horror game. Alan Wake is not even close to horror. All you do is explore, find clues, solve mysteries and fight some bad guys. It puts you in the shoes of a writer called Alan. Obviously, being a writer he has no combat experience, so instead of going guns blazing, popping fools with miniguns and RPGs, you'll be using a slow firing weapon and a flashlight. Yes, a flashlight is a weapon and is your biggest friend. This mechanic I have not seen often in other games, and it helps to make Alan Wake stand out from the rest. With a beautiful story, this game definitely should be included on my list. Here we have the peak of the Worms franchise, World Party! Worms is a very old IP dating back to 1995. It had its ups and downs being the 3D games and ups being World Party. This is one of the best party game, guys. You pick up a team, select a map and go crazy the way you see fit. The entire terrain is destructible, you can explode giant holes, swing around and drop mines on the other worms. It's great fun and each match is different. AI is smart enough too, if you don't have a buddy to play with. Matches are quick, so you can have a few matches before work, school or whatever. It's a great, mindless, fun and great time waster. The Sims is a very controversial franchise. I mean, look at the Steam page, man, €900 for the full experience? No thank you. Honestly, the business model is the only downside to The Sims, but underneath we have a fantastic simulator where you can live off your fantasy of being let's say a world-class chef, a supermodel, and many more. You choose who you wanna be and how to live your life. You hate your neighbor in real life? Great! Build the same house in The Sims 4 and burn it down. Hate your annoying grandma? Drown her in the pool. The variety of professions, places to visit, relationships you can build, and so much more. Make The Sims the best simulation ever. It's a shame we have not seen a new Sims game since this one, and it's a shame that EA has a hold on the franchise, but oh well, The Sims 4 is still great. This may be very surprising to some of you guys, since I have mentioned several times how I think that Red Dead Redemption 2 is one of the most frustrating games I have ever played. And while yes, that is still true, I cannot deny that this game is a masterpiece in storytelling, character development and environment. The world Rockstar created is the peak, and nothing else has ever, or maybe will ever, rival it, it seems. Everything feels real, from the animals, people, scenery. You can spend hours just sitting on the grass, telling stories near a campfire. The game being so realistic is why I think it's very frustrating. Character movement is incredibly sluggy, horse riding is more than half the game, and shooting feels the same with every weapon. If this game did not look the way it did, if it did not have the cowboy theme, which I adore, and of course did not have these incredible voice actors and characters, then I would put this on the worst list, but no. It stays here. Minecraft Dungeons is not Minecraft. You don't have the freedom, creativity and sense of wonder that Minecraft gives you. Instead, it's a very focused, isometric game which is very different each time you play. Sure, the levels are all the same, the weapons as well, but the combination you can have make it different each time. In Dungeons we have pretty much all the mobs from the original, the scenery, biomes, blocky characters, the textures are the same, it's all here, so it's just like playing Minecraft, but also not. People compare this game to Diablo a lot. I personally have never played a Diablo game, but I definitely will in the future if it's as fun as Minecraft Dungeons was. Each DLC introduces a new biome and a new style of play, new weapons and whatnot. I have beaten all DLCs and did not regret it. Unfortunately, I don't see them adding any more, but what we have is enough. Initially, when I got Grand Theft Auto 4 in 2009, I completely dismissed it, called it garbage and didn't wanna play it ever. All of that comes because of my huge love for San Andreas, the previous installment of the franchise. GTA 4 completely changed the formula, cars light a lot now, combat is more realistic, the game in general is more gloomy and serious. Well, I gave it a chance and I discovered that the game was going in a certain style and it nailed it, guys. GTA 4 tells a tragic story and it's also based in a tragic setting. Everything from colors, characters, weapons, everything helps immerse you in this horrible city called Liberty City. How ironic. GTA 4 honestly may be the game which has the best story in all video gaming. It's truly fantastic. There's betrayal, suspense, wonder and anger as well. No happy thoughts here. From a serious game, we move on to one of the dumbest games ever, called Postal 2. And I mean dumb in a good way. I mean, can you mention more games which allow you to piss on demand and to shove a shotgun up a cat's bottom and use it as a weapon? Come on, I'll wait, name a few. It boggles the mind how nobody ever got close to recreating this masterpiece so many years after release. This game is so old, guys. The whole idea is that you need to do chores for your darling wife. For instance, pick up milk, return a library book and a few more. The regular everyday normal guy completely wreaks havoc and turns a normal life into a literal hell. Creative weaponry, beheadings where you can just kick the head around and play fetch with it with your dog. It has it all, like I said, very dumb fun. Did I mention how much I love cowboy games? Well, if I didn't, then this, along with RDR2, would not be on this list. This game is a true Wild West, as they say. We have revolvers, high noon battles, lassos, and more. You play as two characters, but unlike many games, in this one you are actually trying to kill each other. You are a predator as one, and the prey as the other. These two have different playstyles, different abilities, voice actors, weapons, and of course, stories. Their paths will meet many times throughout your playthrough, and you'll see the story unravel from different perspectives. Not many games do this, and it's why I appreciate this game's existence so much. A Plague Tale: Innocence is a story-based game which has a lot of exploration, great storytelling, and some horror mixed into it. As the game suggests, there's a plague going on, and who's to blame? Rats. Lots and lots of rats. You play as children who got separated from their mother, trying to survive this horrible world filled with disease, crazy, scared people, and everyone wants to get you. Why? Because you are special. Combat is almost non-existent and you gotta be sneaky all the time. You see many gross scenes, there's a lot of death, and you'll be in the center of it, dodging bullets as you're trying to reach your goal. What's your goal? Well, play it and find out. Trust me, if you like stealth, then you won't regret it. You all know South Park, right? A show which had 10, maybe 15 seasons before the game was even announced? Well, I actually didn't. The game was my introduction to the show. I watched the entire series just in preparation to play the game. Hundreds of hours watched just because people praised the Stick of Truth. And what happened when I played it? I fell in love with the show even more. Every character you know from South Park is in the game. Every joke is retold. Every location is here too. It's as gross as the show. The crude humor and everything else is beautifully remade in a video game form. While other licensed games flop because the game devs don't care about the source material and don't try to blend the two, South Park: The Stick of Truth excels in that, and it's a beautiful game because of it. BioShock is a very old game which still holds up and is considered by many as the most beautiful experience. Well, it truly is beautiful the whole time you're underwater in a city. A very scary, forgotten and weird city. A city where seemingly dead people come to life. A place where little kids send giant machines after you. A place where the only sane person is you and you alone. The game does a fantastic job immersing you in this world. There are lore cassettes scattered everywhere, rewarding you with lore and also ammo and whatnot. The few characters you interact with you feel sympathy for, others you wanna destroy because they tried to murder you. The whole time you know and you can see that you are deep underwater and you know there's no escape, which sells you more on the game. Atmosphere is everything in this game, guys. Good thing it's so beautiful because combat has a lot to be desired. Weapons feel weak and the special powers you possess don't help with it. Ah, the Arkham series. Just like the South Park games, this is one of the few TV adaptations which actually was well received and was well made as well. Not so much for Arkham Knight though, as it had a very rocky start. Luckily I played it very far after release, when most bugs were ironed out, and I'm glad I did since it's a great game. The main addition and change here was the Batmobile. Unlike Saints Row 4, where you never have to drive vehicles since you have gliding powers, here, the Batmobile serves an actual purpose, solving puzzles, using it as a tank, transportation and more. This was a game changer, but was also not the focus. Everything you love about the previous Arkham games is still here. The new villains and allies were also improved in many ways. Fallout 3, the beginning of the franchise for me, a game I ruined for myself when it released because I was dumb enough to use cheats and give myself infinity carrying capacity. The game became meaningless since I carried the whole world on my shoulders. Well, after finishing New Vegas, I still needed my Fallout fix, and what better game than the previous installment. The setting here is very dark and gloomy, unlike the desert setting from New Vegas. It helps immerse you even more into this nuclear wasteland when everything looks the way it does. Fallout 3 is a true RPG where your actions actually matter and the playstyles are endless. I am very happy with the direction Fallout 3 went to change the series, and I'm very unhappy with what Fallout 4 did. Saints Row referred the time right before shit hit the fan. While this game is pretty crazy, it's very grounded, vehicles are useful, characters are funny, gangs are dangerous at first, but slowly you learn how to deal with them. There's just so much greatness crammed in here, and while I think that it's a step in the wrong direction from the gang homie San Andreas vibe the series gave off in the past, I appreciate this game for what it is. Mindless, explodey fun with some ludicrous weapons. I just wish they stopped with the craziness here and that the fourth game went back to its roots, but no, this was the last great Saints Row game. Ori and the Blind Forest, is this the absolutely best looking platformer? It's quite possible, but we have many contenders, some of which are later on this list. You play as this little cute white ghost looking creature and you gotta travel the whole land to save your friend. It's a game about love, lost and heartache. It really pulls on your heartstrings, especially with how emotion is displayed. You can feel the struggle of this little white buddy and you really wanna see it progress. I'm generally not a fan of platformers and Ori is one of the exceptions. Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor takes place in one of the best fantasy universes there is, Lord of the Rings. As you would expect, we have lots of evil, weird creatures, evil, powerful rings, and orcs. Lots and lots of orcs. The best thing about the game is not the fantasy parkour and fighting mechanics, both of which are exact copies from Batman Arkham and the Ascrit games, but is the Nemesis system. Each orc you kill in the game is important, each day when passes has meaning, and each of your actions also do, since the Nemesis system is in play. If an orc kills you, they get promoted. If you kill a leader, it sets off a chain reaction and a change in leadership. If you, for instance, hypnotize an orc, they can fight for you and so on. Alright, finally a racing game, a genre which nowadays is forgotten to me. No racing game in 2022 apart from Forza Horizon impresses me anymore, and it's a shame because I used to play racing games almost exclusively as a child. This game has maybe the biggest map ever, but it's not just an empty map like an Ubisoft Ascrit game, but it's filled with races, challenges and amazing scenery. Huge, wide open fields allowing you to drive buggies, bikes, enormous trucks and regular old cars. It's bombastic, fantastic and great fun. Hey guys, did you know I like Western cowboy games? You didn't? Well, let me tell you. Gunslinger goes all out on the cowboy theme. Gone is the double character story from the original, or the broader mechanic from the previous games too. Gunslinger is a proper and very refined shooter. Everything I loved from the original is here, like the shooting, the slow-mo mechanic, scenery, which obviously is much higher fidelity. The music is on point, and so are the duel battles. Every cowboy fan should try Gunslinger even if you're not into shooters. It's miles ahead of RDR2, I'll just finish on that. Dishonored 2 is a stealth game, right? Well, yes and no, it's actually whatever you want. You prefer stealth? Cool! Hide around corners, wait for enemies to pass, hide bodies so other enemies cannot see them and so on. Is this too boring? Fine, use some powers. Yes, we have superpowers. Teleport around, make yourself invisible, see through walls, and be a superhero assassin. It's still too boring? What? Okay, fine. Go guns blazing and kill everybody in sight. Which actually is the worst way to play for me, but it's still here, man. If it's your decision to play as a maniac, then go ahead. The enemy AI is a bit dumb sometimes, and sometimes they'll see you even though they shouldn't, but for what it is, the game is great and the AI stealth enjoyers should try it out. Katana Zero I have a separate lengthy review for, and you should check it out, but in short it's about a guy who is drugged out and is trying to find out what's going on in this weird world around him. He's a sword for hire and he has to use his amazing samurai skills to get through so many levels and get his target. Music is great, combat feels fluid, and the characters are funny as hell. Again, look up my review. I am a sucker for vampire games. I would eat up anything vampire related, really, and it's a shame that it's a forgotten concept nowadays. It's all about the damn zombies, man, I'm telling you. Oh, it's sad. Well, the vampire theme is one of the reasons I tried Vampire or however you say it. What kept me playing is mostly the setting, but also the story. This is a story game, and most of your time you'll spend listening to people talk and solve mysteries. It's dark, spooky, gross, and you get to live your vampire fantasy. What more do you want from a vampire game? It's pretty restrictive, sure, in where you can go and what to do, but it's worth a playthrough because of the fantastic story and the characters on display. Forza Horizon 3 is my introduction to the Forza series since the previous ones were not available for PC. It's a shame because every installment since then has been amazing, and I believe that the Forza Horizon games are the only racing games worthy of a play nowadays. There's an enormous variety of vehicles, not a single one which is hidden behind a paywall. Hundreds upon hundreds of cars, all handling a different way, can be yours in a couple hours. Tracks are expansive, scenery is great, and races are hella fun. Layers of Fear is one of the few games which has genuinely scared me and has completely fried my brain at the same time. It has a mechanic I don't see in other games which plays with your mind and makes you question your existence. Basically, when you look in one direction and take a look left or right, everything has changed seamlessly. Your world around you is completely changing and really messes with your mind. Layers of Fear is very unique with how it made me feel and experience the game. Never before have I felt so lost. If you like horror, then give this one a go. Wolfenstein: The New Order is a modern FPS, but it's not like any other FPS, but it's one like no other. Here the whole concept is battles against Nazis, but not just any Nazis, but mecha ones. Nazis in the future, how does it sound, huh? The game is something else. First of all, it provides one of the best stories ever told in an FPS, but it also completely changed the boring regenerating health Call of Duty formula. Here your health actually matters, you gotta monitor it and search around for health packs. Oh, and did I mention how you can dual wield two heavy weapons, like shotguns for instance? Screw realism, man, we are fighting mecha Nazis, give me two big ass shotguns to dispose of their giant robots. Please and thanks. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, the most un-Assassin's Creed of all Assassin's Creed. Well, I guess not more than Valhalla and Odyssey, but I digress. The idea behind this game is not really the Brotherhood, although it does play a role, but it's about greed. You are a pirate, hungry for booty, both female and actual loot. You scour the endless ocean, upgrade your weaponry and your ship, sail the seven seas, meet other pirates pirate, some funny, some scary, and in real pirate fashion get screwed over as well in the process. Many would call this the best Assassin's Creed game, and I would definitely disagree, but it's way up there. It gave us something never seen before or after. I wish the franchise went in this route and not in the Odyssey one, but oh well. Chicken Invaders 4 is a game where chickens invade Earth and it's your job to stop them. Do you need more explanations? The franchise has been alive for over 20 years and it's still going strong. The fourth installment changed the formula quite a bit. Now we have rotating screens, more weapons, new chickens, incredible boss battles, terrain changes, weather effects and so much more. This I believe is the best one in the franchise and it's because it changed so much while keeping the funny, sarcastic nature it always had. It's worth a try considering it's only just 2 hours long. And here comes the hardest racing game ever made, a game which took me over a year to complete and also most likely is my first purchase with my own money as a kid. Midnight Club 2 is extremely punishing. The race could take you 5 minutes, but just a short press of the wrong button could send you in last place. Once you're last, there's no way you can get back on top. Utilizing shortcuts is a must and memorizing each and every corner as well. Characters are very funny, layout of the city is great. If you guys don't rage so much, then give this one a go. Downtown Run is basically Blur in the past. You have all played Blur, right? You are racing, but you aren't racing just for the hell of it, but to make your opponent's life more difficult. The idea is that you pick up power-ups, when somebody gets near you, you lay it on them, you mess up their cars and stay in first place, but watch out. The same can be done to you, so you gotta react accordingly. It's a nice spin to the otherwise boring old racing formula many of the games from that era gave. The power-up mechanic was a nice twist and the fact that you are driving really old normal road cars you see on the streets in real life really made me wanna play and complete it. Detroit Become Human is one of the few games which made me question my existence. It made me think about what's ahead, how the world would look after 10, 20, 50 years. It showed me that what humanity is doing right now is not always for the best, and that maybe someday we'll pay the price. This is more than just a game, guys. It's a look at the future, a future I don't really wanna be a part of. I mean, sure, we would all like a lifelike robot serving us every day of our lives, but what if they revolt? What if they become too smart and actually take action against us? This game raises many questions and you need to experience it at least once. Horizon Zero Dawn, the best Ubisoft game which is not a Ubisoft game. Zero Dawn takes ideas from many open world games nowadays, games which are filled with nothing but bloat, stretched and empty map, nonsensical story. Looking at you, Valhalla and Odyssey, wink wink, and it removes all the bad, makes it actually difficult and adds an incredible story as well. Seriously, I have been waiting for a true, unique open world experience and no game in the past maybe 5 years has given me that. Here comes Horizon to the rescue. I am very glad it finally reached PCs as everybody should experience this masterpiece. BioShock Infinite, 1 step back and 2 steps forward. Gone is the beautiful atmosphere from the past which set this game apart from all other FPSs, but Infinite also fixed a lot of issues I had from the first games, things such as the shooting mechanics. It's now very fun to shoot weapons and use your powers. The story direction also made a change. The whole story revolves around your new companion. She would help you any step of the way, but also call you out on your crap. Elizabeth changed the formula quite a bit, and while it looks kinda realistic when enemies don't target her, she provides some good commentary and interesting never seen before gameplay mechanics to the table. Life is Strange 2 is a game about exploration, wonder, and most importantly, love. Two brothers set off on a journey, they care for each other, trying to survive in this scary world. I've never had a brother myself, and this game showed me how it is to have somebody this close to you, how you wanna protect them, and how, if your bond is strong enough, you can overcome any obstacle. Some crazy things happen on this journey, and not every chapter is that great, but overall, it's one of the most unforgettable experiences I have ever had when playing a game. My initial thoughts on Dead Space was that it's a terrible game. Well, that's because I had the audacity to use a mouse and keyboard. The PC controls are terrible, guys, and if you don't use a controller, then you might hate it too. I am glad I gave it a second try with an Xbox One controller, because this game is something else. It introduced a brand new mechanic where, in order to dispose of an enemy, you gotta chop off their limbs. Chop off a few though, because it will chase you until you bleed to death. Dead Space is gross and sometimes a bit scary too. You'll be chased by aliens constantly, and you may have a tough time if you don't have the proper weapon equipped. And here is the best Arkham game, guys, the first in the franchise and the only one which is not open world. That's actually the best part of it. You are in an asylum, you are locked with the bad guys. Each environment seems to have gotten a lot more polish since the devs did not have to work on a big city. Before this game I knew nothing about Batman and the villains, but this was an incredible introduction. I watched all the movies afterwards, and it's all thanks to Arkham Asylum. I am so glad they held nothing back. I mean, sure, there's no blood in the game, but otherwise this is a dark and gruesome world, and the game reflects that perfectly. In the car series, a game where you turn a left. That's it. It's NASCAR with F1 cars. Back in the day, you have no idea how much time I spent on this game. I learned every single detail, like how in a certain corner, if you let go of the gas at the exact frame, you would get a boost. How a certain tile on the ground gives you a spark on contact. How to manipulate enemy AI, and so much more. Each difficulty provides a different playstyle, since on easy you can just act as a tank and just try to make as many spectacular crashes as you can. Or of course you can play on pro and pit stop when your fuel runs low, or even get disqualified when you don't follow racing rules. There are of course newer IndyCar games, but I feel like this one is the best one since it gives the most freedom in how you play. Balance, the game which has frustrated me so much, but frustrated in a good way. Balance is really difficult, precise timing are essential, and one false move would send you flying to who knows where. One of the hardest things I have ever done in the game was beating the DLC level 13. It took me maybe 10 years on and off, but I finally did it, and I even made a video on YouTube showcasing it. Go check it out. And of course check out the game because it's really solid. Get it? Solid? You know, cause the stone, but never mind. This war of mine is not fun. A video game not being fun disqualifies it from this list. But not this one, guys. It's not meant to be fun. This game shows you the absolute horrors which war brings. It shows how everyday humans try to survive, hunting for food, trading for supplies, fighting off raiders, and so much more. You can slowly see how your group decays in sanity and loses the will to live, how they get sick over time, how you are never safe. I believe that this game everybody should experience, and maybe should be mandatory in schools to teach children about how dangerous war can be. Far Cry Primal is a vast change from the regular old Far Cry you have played before. You know, the one where you shoot bad guys and animals? Well, in this one we are back in prehistoric times, where you have a club, a spear and maybe some rocks. Nobody speaks English, vehicles don't exist, and houses are made of grass and stone. I know it sounds boring, but you know what? That is why the game is so great, because it's like no other one. I am pretty sick of using assault rifles and grenades to solve my problems in other video games. Give me some rocks, dude, a dinky looking ball, plop me on a saber-toothed tiger and let me at 'em. I know this game was not received well, and that's a shame because it's the only one in the franchise which stands out. Metro Last Light, and this, my children, is a stalker game, but done good. In Last Light, the majority of your time is spent in the metro, dark, cobweb-filled tunnels, where rats, giant spiders and weird creatures want your blood. Your weaponry consists of dinky and broken put-together weapons which feel like could break at any moment. The atmosphere is everything in Last Light. I wouldn't really call it scary, but it definitely gave me the creeps a few times. This is also the only great game in the franchise to me, and I have replayed it a few times because of it. The Walking Dead, once the best show in existence. Nowadays it's a shell of what it used to be. Much like the game actually, the first Walking Dead game is the best one to me. Luckily it tells a brand new story with brand new characters and does not take much from the TV series. Even the zombie rules are not exactly the same. Back when the TV series was fresh, I wanted something new, but similar. Well, this game came to the rescue. All characters are great, especially the protagonist. It's his job to keep this little girl safe, and throughout the game you see how their bond grows. Watch Dogs 2 saved the franchise. Before we had a boring, gloomy game with a very dull main protagonist, a game which introduced the foundation of the universe, like for instance the gadgets you use. Watch Dogs 2 threw all the seriousness out the window and completely turned it upside down. Think of this game about how you think about Saints Row 3 in a way. A lot more colorful, goofy and dumb. You play as a loudmouth quote-unquote hacker, and you are in a gang with other hackers. You all have a good heart and you're trying to make the world a better place by force. Making these comebacks pay by their own game is the basic premise. I am very happy this game exists because it gave me everything the original Watch Dogs didn't. Ah, here we go. As the name suggests, unlike the previous Assassin's Creed game I mentioned, this one is about the Brotherhood, a true Assassin's Creed game where the main focus is not ships, Colosseum fights, raids on fortresses with an army and so on. You are mainly on your own, you are grounded, which means no zip lines or flying machines. You climb very tall buildings, sneak past guards and use your hidden blade. You know, the things which the series is based off, at least at the start. I'm looking at you, Valhalla. The only thing I dislike about it is the animals bullshit which is present in all the starter games, but oh well, the rest of the game is amazing. The Colin McRae franchise is the best rally franchise of them all. I don't care what you say. Despite me spending the most time on the second game, 2005 feels like the best Colin McRae game. It's extremely fleshed out, the tracks are more appropriate for rally, there's an actual proper career, championships and more, car variety is great, weather effects are on point. I mean, what more could you ask for? Even Dirt Rally did not get to the quality which this game achieved. Shadow Warrior, the revival of the very old franchise. Did they succeed? Well, hell yeah they did! One of my favorite franchises is Serious Sam, and this is basically Serious Sam. We have a loudmouth protagonist with a penis-sounding name, giving one-liners, talking trash, jumping into danger where 20 enemies all at once are trying to kill him. Man, this game is just pure fun. Movement is not restrictive whatsoever, you can jump around, slash some fools with your katana, or use the big variety of guns. Boss battles are present as well, and you gotta think outside the box for them. It's just pure mayhem, dude, and it's a must play if you enjoy high action FPS. Saints Row 2 is the best game in the franchise by a mile. By now you should know my love for GTA San Andreas. Well, this is San Andreas, but in a different universe. Seriously, everything you do in GTA San Andreas, you do here. But in this game you have a lot more freedom in how you play. You are no longer a set person, but you can play for instance as a fat loudmouth chick or a skinny naked dude. Any playstyle suits the game and doesn't retract from it. Each class even has different voice actors, and even NPCs react differently whether you play as a female or a male. Each member of your gang is very memorable as well, and if you're into gangster games then give this one a try. Bully, a game like no other. Seriously, name a different game which lets you play as a child who beats up other kids, pulls pranks on teachers, prefects, the principal, gets into detention, actually kisses girls, and it's even allowed to run around in his underwear. I swear, if this game came out today, it would be banned from every single country. It's not only this though, this game also features a fully fledged school system where you actually have classes which you can attend, adding a whole new enjoyment factor. For a full 20-minute review and a 100% walkthrough, check my channel. Doom is Shadow Warrior on steroids. Or was it the other way around? No matter, in Doom your job and your only job is to kill demons. Beat them up, slice them open, explode their little tiny head, tear them apart, kick them around, just clear an area and you are good. What are you gonna do after? Clear the next area and the next and so on. This never gets old no matter how many demons you destroy. Each arena is slightly different and you do need to find certain items to progress from time to time, but Doom is all about ripping and tearing, so if you're not into that then don't touch this game. Grand Theft Auto Vice City is Scarface, but with a good ending. You play as Tommy Vercetti, a badass who wants to take over the city. Well, it's not such an easy task, and he can't do it alone despite wanting to. So you befriend many people, kill, steal, and a lot more just to get to the top. The atmosphere for such an old game is still amazing, and the game holds up fantastically well. Being set in the 80s really gave it a unique vibe, which is not explored very well in other games. Truly a unique experience you would never forget. Outlast is okay. Just okay, nothing special. The reason why it's in the list is because of its DLC. This DLC single-handedly blew every other horror game out of the water. It's incredibly gross, made me gag even, and that has never happened before. Environments are gruesome and hella scary. Puzzles are present, the game is not punishing in any way and gives you a chance. None of these things I can actually say about the base game, which is mostly boring and slow. It's a shame because as a package this could have been way higher on the list, but oh well. In the center of our list we have Prey, a game I expected nothing of, but a game which gave me an experience like no other. This is not your typical Call of Duty shooter, guys. It's very far from that. Your weapons consist of gadgets, things which will help you change the landscape, like for instance, if you can't access an area, what you could do is make yourself some artificial stairs, or maybe turn yourself into a jar and slide underneath a locked door. I mean, sure, we have shotguns, pistols and whatnot, but that's not your main weaponry since ammo is so scarce. You gotta think outside the box and also use everything around you. Just be careful with what you grab because it might actually be a mimic. I dislike Star Wars, but I love Star Wars Racer. No other game has ever given me this much sense of speed. Feels like you're going at a speed of light at all times, and that's the best part of the game. While in a rally game your goal is to slow down significantly so you can make a turn not to damage your vehicle, here you go full speed and try to dodge other guys trying to push you off the track. Your pod racer is also very fragile, so you need to constantly fix fix it on the go as you're going at the speed of light, and also you gotta keep it from overheating. The game is actually really difficult, and as a child I could not beat it, but now you can crown me as the pod racer champion. Revolt is another difficult game from my childhood, and for its time this is the best looking game of them all. Cutting edge technology right here, which still holds up to this day. You play as an RC car and your job is to win the race, of course. The tracks consist of playpens, ships, museums, neighborhoods and more. It makes you feel very small since everything around you is giant, which of course is the idea. It's an idea executed greatly, and I wish more games took note from Revolt. It's nice, carefree fun. Hollow Knight is probably the most advanced platformer ever, a platformer with the most bosses, secrets, enemies and most importantly, lore. I would argue that the lore in Hollow Knight can rival games such as Skyrim. Well, let's not get that far, but still, you could get lost if you dig deep into this game. It's also very difficult, especially if you try the DLC and the extra content after 100% completion. I personally stopped playing before the new DLC came out and before many updates, but even then I had a hard time with it. It's an extremely fluid, solid platformer with a heavy emphasis on lore. Lots of unexpected things happen as you play, so you need to try it. Resident Evil 7 is the best RE game ever made, no questions asked. It's also my introduction to the series. Every other game before and after it is lacking in some aspect. This one has it all. Crazy, lunatic monsters who chop off their limbs and eat them? Check. Gross crevices filled with cockroaches, spiders and centipedes? Check. Lots of gruesome scenes, butt-clenching chases where you can't really fight back, jump scares? Yeah, we do have these, oh yes, and puzzles. To progress, lots of puzzles needs to be solved, and you always gotta be on your toes since at all times a crazy, disgusting monster will be after you. Yes, another vampire game, a game which almost did not see the light of day. Much like the unreleased yet sequel, this game was in development hell for a long time and it really shows. Lots of nonsensical things will happen, it's very rough around the edges and you may be put off by it all. Well, I played it in 2020 for the first time and man, this is now one of my favorite RPGs. Vampires are my jam, man, and just like Vampire, this game lets you live like one. This time though, your actions have real consequences and each class you play as completely changes the game. No other RPG has this much variety, even Skyrim, and one playthrough is not enough in my eyes. Despite knowing the ending, I will play through this game again. I bet Jeanette misses me. Life is Strange 1 and 2 are almost equally as awesome, however this game feels more real and touches on an entirely different subject matter I can relate to more. While 2 is about brothers, something I've never had, the first game touches on school a lot. Things we have all experienced. This game brought me back to when I was a teenager, worrying about grades, classmates, bullies and whatnot. It was a trip down memory lane. And while of course I did not have superpowers like the protagonist does, I could definitely relate to her big time. Your actions will have consequences. You can take away life or give hope. You can save people from a lifetime of disability. You can even wipe out the whole town in the name of love. Quake 3 Arena is one of the first 5 games I have ever owned on PC. Unlike the previous games, this is an actual arena shooter. They give you a map, a bunch of bots spawn, and you gotta get more kills than all of them. Sounds simple, and that's because it is. It's the charm of Quake. A lot of different monsters to choose from, weapons all feel different and are very situational, quick swapping, upgrades, rocket jumps, it's all here. It's nice, stupid fun, and it's not even difficult to get first place. Well, unless you go for the nightmare mode, which I have done several times. I even have a full nightmare walkthrough on YouTube, so go check it out. Hotline Miami is just pure goddamn fun. Seriously, each quote-unquote match could take you 20 seconds if you're good enough. To beat the game quickly, you gotta just think quickly too. You can go guns blazing, hoping for the best, or take your time and approach it slowly. Just remember that one false move will reset the level. But you know what, that's fine since each level is so short anyway. I didn't really care about the story, it doesn't really give you much time to invest yourself in it. It's all about the different kills you can pull off rocking to some amazing tunes. Zombie games were really popular when Dying Light released. So popular that when it released, I said, oh man, another zombie game? Come on, we have enough! But no. Viewers, this is not just a zombie game, this is the only zombie game you should ever play. At daytime it's pretty slow, not that scary, you can mess around with your decaying friends, but dude, once nighttime begins, it's an entirely different game. I have no idea how many times my heart almost exploded from beating so hard when a mission took way too long to complete and I had 30 seconds to go back home before nighttime came around. This game puts you on the edge and it's also a really good story. This is Forza Horizon 3, but better in every single way. More cars, better play area, better menus, soundtrack, and the DLC. Every single aspect of this game is improved slightly while still keeping the gameplay style Forza Horizon 3 had. The LEGO DLC was something else too. It reminded me so much of Revolt 2 since your cars are just bricks on wheels. This is also the best game in the franchise to me despite having to drive on the wrong side of the road. This guys right here is the GTA 4 we never got. Everything I expected from GTA 4 I got in Sleeping Dogs, plus a lot more. I have always wanted a GTA style game with a very heavy emphasis on melee combat, where guns are meaningless and you rely on your fists in most situations. Not only the gameplay is great here, but the story as well. I can't really talk much about it since I would immediately spoil it, but there's a lot of cop versus robbers things going on in here. Basically gangs are fighting each other, the police steps in, it becomes a mess and sometimes good people die. Just like in real life, am I right? Ahaha, the Ass Creed game everybody hated. The supposedly buggiest game in the franchise. Well guys, learn to wait. I waited 5 years to try it and what did I get? A solid experience and one of the best games I have ever played. Movement is really well refined and reimagined, the story keeps you engaged every second when playing, the main protagonist is not just a nameless pirate or a big tough Viking fighting mythical creatures. No, it's a story about little Arno who grew up with the taste of money and some booty. If you guys were hesitant in trying Unity because of how broken it was, please give it a second chance. It's a solid experience throughout. Back when Need for Speed was still alive and well and not a money sink, NFS Underground 2 was at the peak. My teenage brain could not handle the tuned out macho cars with flames on the side, the rap music of my boy Snoop Dogg, of the funky colors of the sky. This was the ultimate racing game to me back then, and while yes, nowadays it hasn't aged that well, I mean cars are stiff, there's no damaged models, it still brings out so many memories of my youth when I was acting all gangsta and tuning my vehicles for hours and even days. I love this game and how it shaped my youth. Neighbors from Hell was a genre-defining game. It was the canvas which everybody took inspiration from. Well, NFH2 built over the original and made some needed changes. First of all, now the pesky neighbor is on vacation with his mom. It's mostly levels open to the sky, like for instance we have the Great Wall of China, we have ships and of course the beach. Each set of levels providing many laughs for the player. Not so much for Rottweiler and his mom who always suffered our onslaught. NFH2 is one of the funniest games and it's also very unfortunate that it's the last official NFH in the franchise. The series had a lot of potential. the beginning of a cultural phenomenon and also the definition of jank. The Witcher is very rough around the edges. I'm talking everything from facial animations to even just walking around. It felt very dated even when it released. With this, however, came an amazing story-rich experience which I would never forget. The world of The Witcher is vast and really interesting. It takes place in my favorite time period, back in time when no plumbing was present. People used swords, shields, and there was no technology. We only had magic, werewolves and vampires. The usual stuff you saw back in the day. Am I right? The Forest is a survival game. You gotta chop wood, craft a campfire, hunt rabbits to eat and roast on your newly made fire, maybe fish out some dinner, build a tiny house, and that's it, right? Oh no, my dear viewers, this is one part of the forest. We have some lunatic zombie-like creatures, crazy 8-legged monsters, and a very dark mystery to solve. You'll not only be building and crafting stuff in the peaceful little forest, but you'll also be trying to stay alive when bloodthirsty zombies are constantly trying to bully you. It's a great balance of peace and nightmare and you should try it out. Cuphead is the Dark Souls of platformers, or at least that's what people say. I have never played a Dark Souls game and so you won't see it on my list, but Cuphead is very difficult to beat. Yeah, I know it looks cute and sweet since the animations are the way they are, but trust me guys, if you're gonna get into Cuphead, you better be ready to try the same level hundreds of times. I beat it myself and it took me weeks since I'm not used to such difficulty. This is primarily a boss rush game and each one is vastly different, having unique patterns and you gotta change your playstyle accordingly. Visuals are like I've never seen before as well, helping with the uniqueness vibe the game puts out. Thief is hands down the best stealth game ever made. It's a shame that it was so poorly received since it steered so far away from the originals, but guys, it's a reboot, what do you expect? Is Doom 2016 just like the original Doom? Of course not, genres evolve and this reboot completely transformed the game to a true masterpiece. Thief is a very dark game, and I mean that in both literal and metaphorical way. This is not a pleasant world and you are doing what many are so afraid to do, steal from the rich and give to the poor, yourself. You'll be robbing houses, mansions, manors, crypts and even abandoned buildings. In this game I even experienced my biggest fright I have ever gotten while playing a video game, and it's not even horror, guys. Yep, a skateboard game, and no, I have never liked skateboarding in real life, it's just too dangerous to me, cause I'm a wimp. But I've always been a fan of the clothes skaters wear, the way they live, how carefree they are. Well, Underground 2 let me experience all that. This is essentially Jackass in video game form. You play as a dude whose job is to pull tricks on people. You do so many acts of terrorism that I don't even know how your group has not been locked up yet. You wear baggy clothes, draw graffiti everywhere, play as disabled maniacs who do superhuman tricks, jump hundreds of feet in the air, and so much more. You can even beat this game in about an hour once you're good enough. Far Cry 3 is the absolutely best game in the franchise. While Primal is unique in what it does, Far Cry 3 redefined the franchise and removed lots of the annoyances the previous ones had. Things such as the repetitiveness and the malaria, of course. You are no longer in brown and ugly Africa, but on an island, my favorite modern setting in a video game. Lots of green everywhere, lots of wild animals, some out to get you, others run away quickly. Pirates are present who you need to slaughter, and of course, Voss, maybe the best villain ever. He is a greatly acted out and highly memorable person, much like the game as a whole. Subnautica is like no other. Tell me, which game allows you to explore the ocean at your own will? Yeah, of course you dip your feet in water in other games, but you don't do much. Here your whole life is underwater. You build bases, fish exotic specimens, explore ancient alien ruins, try to uncover the civilization's secrets, dodge little brown jelly beans and Vietnamese gangsters. Oh wait, wrong video game. Yeah, in Subnautica you dive deep, reach your limit, craft some new gear, dive deeper and so on. With each upgrade the world will open up even more, resulting in a gradual upgrade path you'll be very happy with. This game provides a very unforgettable and unique playstyle that I'm aching for more. You guys have played Ninja Gaiden, right? Probably not, since my demographic is pretty young, but I certainly did. Back in the NES era I played heaps of Ninja Gaiden games which were basically 30 minutes long, but I replayed them hundreds of times. Well, The Messenger is a reimagining of the classic game from the past. A platformer which is extremely fluid and has an amazing movement system. It's not only that though, but this game changes significantly halfway through, so if you're bored at the start, then don't worry, you might be surprised with what comes next. You all know what GTA 5 is, but let me tell you anyway, it's the most advanced game ever made, the one with such attention to detail people still find secrets in it despite it being hella old. It's a game with such unique playstyle that many people cannot even copy it without falling flat on their face. It's also a game which completely ruined a once beloved company, Rockstar Games. The developers have never been the same since it released, and that's truly tragic since what they made here is a thing of beauty. This game deserves all the praise it got about innovation, style of play, unique mechanics and whatnot. Hades is so deep I don't even know where to begin. Yeah, it looks simple at first. They plop you in a dungeon and you try to reach the surface, complete a few chambers and BAM! You are outside. Simple? Or is it? Each escape attempt is entirely different, despite going through the same levels. A big help with the freshness is the variety of weapons and the power-ups you can possess. Progress is key in Hades and is balanced perfectly well. I mean, sure, you could complete the game in 30 minutes in just one attempt, but chances are it would take you 30 hours. You could stop after one successful escape attempt, but 60 successful escapes later and you'll be still hungry for more. This game is very addicting and it could be played in short bursts. The beginning of a franchise which to this day has no direct rivals, unfortunately. The Sims 1 is a lot more compact than any other game in the franchise. It's not about the neighbors and their problems, it's about you and your family. Make them grow, do well in school, find a good career and become a master of your craft. Or, alternatively, get born and die in a fire, or do bad in school and get sent away from your parents, or maybe have a work accident, lose the will to live, and burn the entire house down. It's all up to you how you approach this game, and this is why it's so great. Black Mesa is a remake of Half-Life 1. If you liked it, you'll love this. And no, this is not just a remaster where some textures are upscaled, but it's a fully fledged remake. You know how much people hated these end levels in the original, right? The last levels in the game? Well, in Black Mesa they're completely different, a reimagining of the original vision of a fantastic franchise, which only adds and takes nothing away. A lot of love and care seems to have been poured into this game, and it really shows. Every addition only adds to the lore of Half-Life and it never hurts the original. This is what remakes should be like. I am very glad this exists. Yep, despite NFH2 opening up the levels and giving our characters more personality, I still prefer the homey feel of the original Neighbors from Hell. Your whole playthrough you are in a house which slowly opens up to new rooms you can set your tricks in. New enemies will pop up like a dog and a parrot. Levels will get a lot more convoluted with a lot more tricks you need to pull, and I gotta say, despite completing the game probably maybe 50 times, I would do it 50 more because it never gets old. I love it when Rottweiler gets angry and when Woody gets this smirk on his face. Prototype is the ultimate anti-hero game. You're not just some goody two-shoes savior of the world ready to save the population of the evil aliens invading Earth. Instead, you are a monster who kills monsters. How do you do that? By consuming civilians, grabbing military helicopters and tanks and throwing them at the ugly creatures and even taking down entire buildings in the city. The infection is spreading everywhere and you don't care about anybody, you just want some answers. That's why I love this game, and it's why Alex is such a great protagonist. With the huge variety of powers you possess, you definitely ruffle some feathers in this crazy town. Ah, the beginning of the Ezio trilogy, the best gaming trilogy ever made? I think it's quite possible. Honestly, this game saved the franchise to me and opened me up to Assassin's Creed. I absolutely hated the first game, and if Assassin's Creed 2 did not change the formula, then I would have never given it any more thought. Well, here I am, I've played all Assassin's Creed games, and I have this one to thank for that. It expands on the story, puts you in a nice, easily traversable city to explore, expands your arsenal of weapons and sets you loose. Oh, and yes, it creates the second best protagonist too. Why second? Well, because Arno cannot be beat. Don't Starve is a survival game like no other. Why? Well, because this one is actually difficult. You can't just put yourself in a hole, fill your pockets with food and water and just stay in it forever. No, no, no. This game tests your survival abilities to the fullest with all of its mechanics. Despite the name, hunger is not your primary concern, it's your sanity and changes of seasons. Each season completely changes the game and you are never safe. By never, I do mean it, guys. Every waking hour you are doing something to survive and you never take a break. One wasted day could mean your death. One distraction could be lethal. Everything I said about Black Mesa applies here. Sure, it looks worse than it, levels are not that refined, AI seems worse, people have blank staring faces, but this game means a lot to me, guys. I played this game as a child and it defined me as a gamer. It showed me the way to first-person shooters, and it's also why I still play them to this day. Half-Life is more than a game to me, and I would treasure it forever. Yes, I admit this is mostly nostalgia talking, and I think that because some levels I even hate, but even 40 years from now I'll still play Half-Life over Black Mesa since it's just that good. Serious Sam the Second Encounter, not to be confused with Serious Sam 2, no, this one actually rocks. If you're not familiar with the franchise, then drop your stupid Dooms, your Shadow Warriors and your Quakes, and give your body to our savior, Sam. Sam is your typical loudmouth brute, killing aliens and taking names, giving one-liners left and right. There's never a dull moment, there will always be a giant group of monsters coming at you, and you'll be relying on your vast arsenal of weapons to wipe them out. Levels are very colorful and enormous, giving you lots of room to maneuver in and of course to stomp on your prey. And here it is, guys, the best Assassin's Creed game there is. Lots of entries on my list, but nothing tops this game, which ties them all together. I was not a fan of the first game, but Altair, the protagonist, was great. Well, this game gives many answers and builds on the lore so goddamn much. I was salivating, guys, thinking about the next step in my adventure. It was such a joy watching my boys Ezio and Altair all grown up. How Ezio's wisdom and abilities have grown. It's such a happy experience that I beg you to try out this franchise if you haven't. Nothing compares to the Ass Creed trilogy story, and this is the game which ties it all together so well. Dead Space 2 is hands down the best horror game. It only improves over the first one and doesn't retract from it. Monsters are scarier, some new spacey mechanics were introduced, the atmosphere is even more nerve-wracking and spooky, the mystery becomes deeper by the second, you are constantly on your toes, the game is just something else, guys. All that, and there is also now proper mouse support. I would say that this game is almost perfect for what it sets out to do. It's just a shame that it's the last good one in the franchise. Again, the best one in a franchise, not much to compare it to honestly since only 3 and New Vegas are on my list, but whatever. While this game changes the atmosphere a bit not to my liking, things such as how the environment is too colorful now, making it feel less apocalyptic, it remedies that by having very advanced RPG mechanics, unseen by me in other games. You'll be faced by very deep decisions which would cost hundreds of people their lives. Be a goody two-shoes helping out each and every person, or go down in history as the guy who each faction hates. Your decision entirely. I don't like puzzle games. Period. Only a few puzzle games have grabbed me, and one of them is Portal 2. This game created a universe which I couldn't believe was achievable by such a small, niche game. I could not believe how a game about moving cubes around could give robots so much personality and make me feel about each of the few characters. How it makes me wanna explore off the beaten path just to get a small drop of hidden lore I desperately want. And now, if you excuse me, I would go replay Portal 2 for the 5th time. Bye bye. Grand Theft Auto 3 is the Fallout 3 of the GTA world, a complete reimagining of the franchise, and the reason so many amazing games came out after it, a genre-defining masterpiece which honestly does not hold this well nowadays, but a game I have played for over 20 years and I have no intention of stopping. This game does not hold your hand and makes you figure out what you need to do. No hand holding here, and this is one of the reasons it's so great. Limbo is yet another puzzle game, but it's not why I like it. I love Limbo because of its atmosphere and the story it doesn't have. You make your own story and conclusions because it tells you nothing. Who is this boy? Where is he going? Why are giant spiders after you? You get no answers and will come to your own conclusions. This matches with the black and white theme and atmosphere the game sets off. Real spooky, short puzzler, perfect for anybody ready to go on an adventure. Stardew Valley is hands down the most relaxing game I have ever played. No other game will put me in a field of thousands of crops, make me pick them one by one and not make me bored. Well, this game is weird because all you do is mundane tasks like farming, picking up eggs, cotton, water your plants, talk to NPCs. Not a single second you feel is wasted, even if you have hundreds of hours in the game like I do. It baffles the mind since you guys saw many Doom-like games on my list, but this, you know, sometimes I need to relax from the real life world and Stardew Valley is the perfect escape from it. I grew up in the NES era where games were 8-bit, chiptune music is all you got, and you mostly just walked the ride, that's it. Well, Shovel Knight along with The Messenger mentioned before on my list are the only two games with this style which perfectly capture and recreate this era of video gaming, but also modernize it just enough to feel fresh. Each moveset of the character feels entirely different and none of them are lacking. The game can also be punishing at times, but as just part of the course. A true recreation of the golden age of video gaming. Thank you Shovel Knight for helping me relive my youth. I know what you're gonna say, but hear me out, I'm not really into visual novel games, they are slow, boring and I hate reading in general. Well, Kato Shoujo quite literally changed my life. Why? Well, because it made me care. It actually made me care about people more. In the game you're sent to a school of disabled people. Here you learn how to care for them and it shows you that there's nothing unusual about them. They can feel, they can love and they can just be like you. Kato Shoujo gave me lots of insight on the struggles they face and made me respect them even more. It's not just a game guys, but after I beat it, my life and my outlook on life changed. For this I owe it a big thank you. Bastion is poor man's Hades. Even then it's much better than Hades. Bastion introduced something new to the table I have never seen before. Is that when you do an action, the narrator describes your action. It's like somebody's watching you constantly and judging your every move. Much like me and chat when I stream. But whatever, apart from that, the game is gorgeous. Not because of the cutting edge visuals where you can count each individual leaf on a tree, but because the art style suits the game really well. I love the progression this game has, it makes you feel very accomplished, especially when you know that somebody is constantly watching. And here's the game I probably put the most hours in. I would not be surprised if I have 10k hours into Joey the Passion, and that's because back in school people were crazy about Yu-Gi-Oh! All of us had cards, we battled each other each day. Well, it did not end at school, but immediately after I came back home I fired up the game, played 5, 10, 50 matches and went to bed. Repeat the same every single day and there you have it, 10k hours. This one is the most advanced one out of the 3 Power of Chaos games, with the most cards and the biggest difficulty. Oh, and by the way, it took me over 10 years to unlock all cards. Just saying in case you wanna try it out. A surprise to no one, but Witcher 3 is on my list, very high up too. Well deserved considering how this game is, I think, the best game ever made. Most games on my list have many issues, but I overlook them because of how fun the game is. But The Witcher 3? I would say it's almost flawless. The only restrictions is how your character is already set, so you can't put your personality in your character. He's always Geralt, Monster Slayer, Heartbreaker and the filthy mutant everybody hates. After replaying all Witcher games, watching the show and countless YouTube videos, I still cannot get enough. Crysis is the ultimate FPS game, very stealthy if you need it. You are on an island, which is my favorite setting, the environment is constantly changing as well, from a tropical paradise to muddy swamps, winter wastelands, alien worlds and so on. This story is really fun to follow, you can fly aircraft and so much more. You have the freedom to play how you want thanks to your special suit, making each playthrough unique. This standalone expansion even improves on the formula, allowing you to play from a different perspective, broadening your scope of the story and giving you more answers. Crysis is my first and also the best modern FPS. Minecraft is a cultural phenomenon which can be played by everybody, from 2-year-olds to even 102-year-olds. You make your own rules and you shape your world. Play how you want and do what you want. Yes, I mean that, since you can even create games in Minecraft. I know it sounds crazy, but if you get familiar with the mechanics, you can do it. You can take it easy and hide in your house for hundreds of hours, or never make a house and be in danger constantly. While it does have an ending, technically, your goals are endless and you play how you want. Terraria is Minecraft but in 3D, but with a lot more stuff. And I do mean a lot, guys. If you beat the game 50 times, chances are you won't see every single item. It's crazy how much stuff is crammed in here, as I've never seen a game this rich in features. And it even looks like a dumb mobile game, dude. Looks empty and slow at first when you boot it up, but man, give it 10 hours and you'll be zipping across the map, beating bosses 100 times your size in a matter of seconds. Progression is very rewarding in Terraria, and like Minecraft, you shape your world and how you approach your playthrough. And this, guys, is the best and also the buggiest RPG. Throughout my playthroughs I have always had game-breaking bugs, but luckily I'm a PC player and with console commands and mods I can always be able to liquidize them. In terms of performance, design, quality and graphics, this game is not better than Witcher 3, but here you can actually play as who you want. Choose from many different playstyles, not just dodge and roll. And also, dude, the lore and setting are simply incredible. I have spent more times watching lore videos, reading huge essays and modding the game than I have actually spent playing the game, to be honest, but hey, it's part of the experience and Skyrim is amazing. And this is it, guys, the best game ever made is Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and I will admit it's only here because of what the game did to me and not because of what the game is. If San Andreas did not exist, I would have never started video editing, I would have never made a YouTube channel, I would have never partaken in gaming forums, tried scripting, modding, coding, and I would have never met many people I know today. San Andreas opened the whole world to me, and I would not be here saying these words if it did not exist. As a game, of course, it's amazing as well. It's the best in the franchise and the best in the genre. Thank you so much, San Andreas, and my condolences for your death when Rockstar Games decided to screw you up so many times in the past with the constant demasters. And this was it, guys, a video which took almost a month to make. Honestly, this was a lot more than I thought. I hope I explained myself well throughout it. I am 100% sure that I did not mention your favorite game. Everybody is different, so please respect my choices the way I will respect yours if you share them in the comments. Please do. Also, please leave a like. Videos like this one are really not worth my time, but it was a passion project I technically started back in 2014, so please show it some love. Thank you very much for watching, and a very special thank you to my top channel members and patrons: Monish Pradeep, Richard Ford, Alex Chavez, Max Robinson, Max Rich, LMP Racing, House the Chowder, Case Knights and everybody else on the screen. Thank you so much.